y'all, it's Elisha and welcome back to Elisha's Crafty Hoplop, and it's still Newbie Saturday, y'all. Yes, it is. But it's funny because I think most of us who've been crafting a while feel like we're learning as much from all of these videos as the new crafters. And there are certainly a number of videos we all wish we had when we first started. Earlier today, Heather did something amazing. She sort of kicked off the discussion of Happy Meal. And, and so it gave me some thought, like, how was it when I first started that, I didn't really understand how you get into the Happy Meal RAK swap groove. And a lot of new crafters say it's really hard for them to get into the swap cycle. And I think that's true. So I wrote to Lily when I first came on, when I first joined the craft community, and I watched for a while before I participated at all. That's just by my nature, y'all. I didn't dive right in. I watched and I waited and I tried to feel out my creative bones and my courage level. And then I finally asked Lily, how does one swap? And I just got blessed. I told you, sometimes when you put something out into the universe, it just happens. So just as I was asking Lily, how does one find a swap partner and a reliable one, which is something we need to cover in this video about what that means. But I asked her, how do I get into the swap cycle? I see people are swapping. I see people send and receive Happy Mail. How does this work? And Lily, instead of being like, oh, girly, that's such a beginner question, took the time to actually explain it to me in detail. So I'm going to share with you some of what she shared with me a while back, and also a little bit of what I've learned along the way today. And I'm hoping this advice will help you in the same way it helped me. But I have to tell you, the universe just intervened, because right as I was asking Lily that question, I was at Tuesday Morning in Florida. And I was looking at the craft aisle, and to be honest, I'm a little bit, like I told you, I'm an introvert, which may be hard for you to believe from my videos, but it's true. So I was keeping to myself at the Tuesday Morning, and this woman walks up to me and she says, "Excuse me, are you a paper crafter?" And I was like, yes, but I didn't even know if I should say yes, because honestly, I felt like such a newbie. I didn't know how to explain to this woman who I was. How do you explain, oh, I've been teaching art and writing and making things since I was a little kid, but I just started paper crafting? How do you even begin that conversation? So I didn't want to say, yes, I'm a paper crafter, because I had just started and I sucked. And I didn't want to say no. I didn't know what to say. I was like, yes, but is what came out of my mouth. I said, but I'm really new at it. And she was just so warm and kind that she was like, well, what do you mean you're new at it? So we get to chatting, and will you believe this? This is Carmen, y'all. This is how Carmen and I became friends. This is an amazing story. Because she was so kind and so generous, she started asking me questions, and then we find out we're both part of Crafting with Lily's community, and she has been with Lily from the beginning. Just like she's been with Erica's Scrap Diva forever, she's been with Lily. And so I know this woman. I've been watching this woman. I just didn't realize it was her. So all of a sudden, I'm standing next to an expert level crafter, and I realized that because I've looked at her Instagram account. So I know what this woman can make. And I'm like, girly, shut your trap, because you can't make anything. Just be quiet. And the next thing that happens is nothing short of a miracle. She says, so Elisha, you want to swap with me? And I was like, what? And I have to tell y'all, something in my head said, you want to say no because you're terrified, but say yes. And so that's that whole, those of you that wrote to me, like Soleil, a few of you wrote, actually it was so beautiful. A few of you wrote yesterday, having faith over fear. That's what happened in that moment. I had faith over fear. And I said, okay, but you have to know, Carmen, I suck. I'm new and I'm just learning. And she was like, I don't mind. Now, I have to tell you, this never happens. It never even happens on YouTube. And there are reasons for that I'm going to cover in this video. But Carmen, out of the generous woman that she is, such a special lady, y'all. If you're on Instagram or you're friends with her, those of you who are fortunate enough to have become friends with her, you know how special Carmen is, right? And speaking of which, hey Carmen, but I panicked, but I said, you know what? Faith over fear, girlie. You'll just have to up your making game. That's what's going to have to happen. If you're not going to let this lady down, because you know that this is never going to happen to you again. So either you say yes and reach for the stars, or you say no and you lose an opportunity of a lifetime. It's your opportunity to lose. So I said yes. And then I went home and panicked and stayed up all night watching videos. I am not joking with you. Or as Divya would say, I'm not kidding. And it's true. I'm not kidding. I stayed up all night. Carmen, that's a true story. I watched tutorial after tutorial because I was determined that if this nice lady who was an expert level maker was going to swap with me, I was not going to let her down. And there were so many things at the beginning, y'all, I was bad at because I didn't know about tools and I didn't know about certain dyes and I didn't know there was a quality difference in dyes and I didn't know there was a quality difference in stamps. Oh my goodness, if I could just do a rewind. But this nice lady didn't care about any of that. She wanted to give me a start. That's what she wanted to do. And she knew that if she swapped with me, that would give me a start, both on YouTube and in life. And it did. It opened a door that changed everything. So why am I sharing this with you, besides it being a beautiful story? Because it is a beautiful story. It also never happens, almost. And I'm going to tell you why. People tend to swap with people they've gotten to know. It doesn't mean that they'll never swap with a new crafter. That's not true. You all saw Heather arranged it, where people who've been crafting a long time are swapping with newbies in this special Adopt a Newbie swap. That's why Heather created it. There's a need. But it's very rare that an expert level crafter is going to suddenly reach out to a newbie and say, hey, you want to swap? That's not an elitist thing. I'm going to tell you what that's about. That's because each one of us on here has swapped with someone who never sent us back the swap. Ever. So we got hurt. And so now, because of that, people are more careful about who they swap with. And so, for instance, like Heather got really hurt last year because, she went out, she had a swap with someone, a new swap partner, and she was so excited, y'all. She went out and bought all new supplies. It cost her a small fortune. But she was like determined because she liked this person's crafts and she wanted to bless them with something really special. So she went out and she got, Heather, I'll never forget it. You got that whole Parisian, like that whole fancy thing. And she learned, like me, she stayed up watching tutorials because she knew that this particular crafter liked one thing and Heather didn't know how to make it. So she watched tutorial after tutorial, practiced, taught herself how to make it, and was super proud of herself because she did it. Sends off the swap, so excited, never hears back from the person. Never hears back. Not an email saying, thank you so much, I got your swap. Not a, geez, I'm so surprised, this was amazing. Nothing. Not a note, not a phone call, not a text, nothing. Now, that was hard. So Heather follows up. And she's like, hey, did you get my swap? Because Heather, of course, is thinking it got lost in the mail. And she's panicked because she feels irresponsible. That's who Heather is. When you get to know Heather, that's Heather. So Heather right away thinks she must be at fault somehow. She must have sent it to the wrong address. She must have sent it to the wrong place. She makes herself crazy. Checks everything. No, it went to the right address. Okay, was it lost? Well, when Heather sends a swap, and this is a piece of advice for you new crafters, when you're sending a full-out swap, she sends a priority with tracking. And the reason for that is because stuff does get lost. And that way you have a tracking number, right? So how did I know that what I sent, that first Happy Mail box to Zach, got destroyed? Because I got a notice from priority from the United Postal Service. When you have a tracking number that you can send people, one, you can prove you sent your worth thing, and two, you can get reimbursed if anything happens to it. You can find it if it's lost. So when I send a big swap too, I also send priority. Often if it's like within $1, I'll send priority just to have the tracking. Just because I want to be able to find that box if it goes missing. All right, so Heather always, when she does a big swap, sends a priority. Always. So she could prove that the recipient got it. So then she's like, well, something funky's going on. Well, a long story short is she just never got a swap back. And that's happened to everybody. And that is why getting into the swapping groove is a little tougher. It's why people want to know you a little bit before they'll agree to swap with you. Now, Heather recently offered a workaround for this for newbies, and I thought it was a very good workaround. She said, you know what, if you want to swap and you've never swapped before, because I'll tell you the first thing that happens. When those of us that get asked to swap a lot, when we are asked, the first thing we do is we go check your Instagram and your channel. If you have never done a swap, we are more likely to be uncomfortable, because at least if we see that you've successfully completed a swap or two, then we feel comfortable that you will deliver on swapping. That's the first thing, and that's not just me, y'all. That's everybody. They go and they check your Instagram and your YouTube. Okay, let's say you've never, but you're new, so you've never done it. Kind of like my situation with Carmen. Then what do? Well, Heather offered a great idea, which is for new crafters to offer to send first. If a new crafter approaches me to swap and says, Elisha, look, I know I've never done a swap before, so you don't know if I'm reliable, then let me send you my swap first. And then I don't care if it takes you 2-3 months to get me yours. Then I'm going to swap with that person, because that's a very responsible offer. Look, I'm still sending Jellybean and Carmen the last of their swap. Thank God they're my friends. It's months overdue. And because they're my friends, they don't care. But they should. It's late. They don't care. They don't care. They're amazing people. But they know they're eventually going to get it. Plus, they got their goodies already because I sent those months ago. So they know that they're going to get what they're supposed to be getting. The difference is when you don't know somebody, you have nothing to base it on. You have no previous relationship. So getting into the swap groove is tough. So here's what Lily suggested to me before I met Carmen. Support challenges, because that gives people something. Like when we see that you're sending off entries to other challenges, maybe you've never swapped before, but if I see you've entered 15 challenges, well, heck, then I know you're reliable. Because why would you do that? You wouldn't support other people's challenges if you weren't interested in being part of this community. That's a great way to sort of establish yourself. And once you start entering people's challenges, people see that you're a regular. And so they feel comfortable swapping with you. So even if you've never done a swap before, but you've entered everyone's challenge, anyone who has participated in like my last 3 challenges, I would swap with. Because I trust you. Because, and so many of you have sent me happy mail in between, so I totally trust you. See, that's another way to get the trust factor going, is if you're someone like, I'll tell you for instance, Cynthia Aguilar, I've got a package from her in my bin. Just happy mail. So she entered my challenge and she sent me a happy mail. So Cynthia's like being very consistent. So if she came to me and said, hey, Elisha, I'd love to swap with you, I wouldn't say no. Because she's already proven herself not just here, but actually on other channels too. And I know that. So she may be new, and even if she didn't have a swap video up, I would agree. So participating in other people's challenges, sending other people happy mail, that's a way to establish yourself in this community without a swap. And that will give people the assurance that you actually will follow through. So that's a little piece of advice. And Lily did give that to me, and it was great advice. The other thing that people are looking for in a swap partner is kindness and attention to detail. So what does that mean? It means that you don't just pull stuff from your stash that you have made, that you actually make for the person that you're making for. Believe it or not, that really matters in a swap. I'm not saying you can't pull anything from your stash. Oh, heck no. People like sharing more who are so organized. She'll pre-create card bases. She'll prep like paint splattered envelopes. Of course she does, because she's so organized, y'all. It blows me away. And so she can pull those to use as base, of course. And she has them ready, and that's very smart. I wish I was as organized as that. Like Jellybean and I talk about this all the time. She and I make each and every piece for the person we're swapping with, so it takes us forever because of that. Between that and our health issues, it just takes forever. But we wish we were like Ebony and that organized, but we're just not really. And we also just create, even if we made those in advance, we would end up making something different for the person. It's just who we are. But that's not what I'm talking about, because Ebony then takes those things and she customizes them for each person. So when you when you watch Miss Ebony swaps, you can tell she's made it for that person. She's chosen the color. When she has sent me Happy Meal and RAK, oh my gosh, she sent me the paint splattered paper because she knew I loved it. Oh my gosh, she's so thoughtful. She notices every small detail in your videos. And so when she makes you something, she makes it only with you in mind. Well, I'll tell you, the person who does that all the time and blows me away is Jellybean Junction. Miss Jellybean loves purple, and she loves shabby. But I have seen her make Leticia and Cruz and myself things that honestly, I don't know how they come out of her. And they're always in our favorite colors, using our favorite paper. She takes such good care to make sure that every single detail speaks to us. That's the kind of person you want to swap with. You don't want a general swap. For that, you can go to a craft store. When you're swapping with someone, you've watched their videos very carefully. You've watched all their project shares. You've studied them. You know what they love. And you do your best to gift them that. So Elisha Love Letter Generation finally got my package, one of my packages. I was so excited because in there were those embellishments I made for her. Now, Elisha knows very well when she looked at those, I made those just with her in mind. I used her favorite pink and gold combinations. I snuck in a hidden rainbow, which she found right away. I knew she would. I used the starburst dyes that Maggie makers love and love to see. I was so careful. I used the special piece out that Elisha loves so much from All Heart. So it's not just her goodies that I pick carefully. It's actually what I made for her. The same thing for Tennille. If you look at the embellishments I made for Tennille, they were very different than Elisha's. They were specifically with Tennille in mind, right? So even though Elisha and Tennille are both Maggie makers, All Heart makers, and Clean Crafting, those two sets of embellishments were radically different. They were made for different makers. So that's the other thing you have to know. When you're looking to swap with people, if you're fortunate enough to get a new swap partner, study their projects. Take a look at what they do. What do they love? Now, you're always going to make in your own style, but you want to honor their passions too. You know, how many things did I receive this month in Tiffany Blue? That's because everyone knows it's my favorite color. That says something to me each and every time. It's like, oh, you guys know. You know I love this color. You know I'm going to want to put this up all over my craft room. It's that kind of thoughtfulness that makes you a great swap partner. And when people see you taking that kind of care in challenges or in RAK or Happy Mail, they suddenly realize, oh, this person's thoughtful. This person's very thoughtful. So that's another way to stand out and make yourself a good swap partner. There's another way, and there's many of you who figured it out on your own who are new here, and you just blew me away. Michelle Bastian, Tami Stamping Therapy, Cynthia Aguilar. There's a few of you who are new to this channel who have set yourself apart. How? You've been very generously blessing other people with things that they needed. And not because you didn't contact me or have to contact me. You just knew. You watched people's videos and you just started sending things out to them. Little random acts of kindness that made the world of difference in the lives of crafters. Well, that makes people stand up and pay attention too. It means you care about this community. Today, Tami Stampin' Therapy has a video up, y'all. She's giving away masks. Anyone who needs a mask, go to Tami Stampin' Therapy. Go to her channel. I'll put a link through down below. That's the kind of thing that makes people say, this woman cares about our community. I wouldn't mind swapping with her. So that's the other piece of advice Lily gave. You have to first, as a new crafter, invest in the community. When you invest in the community will invest back, I promise you. That is how people get Happy Mail. Now I'm going to answer the whole mystery. People say, well, why does this person get so much Happy Mail? And why does this person not get as much? Okay. One of the things that happens is that people get Happy Mail because they're investing in the community. So they're either sending out racks that they don't show. I'm going to tell y'all, I seldom show the racks I send on this channel. Almost never. And that's just because that's not why I do it. So I make a personal choice on what I show on this channel, and usually it's not the stuff I'm gifting people. Occasionally I'll show it just as an inspiration video, or occasionally I'll show something as an example, but almost never will you see what I send out. It's just my personal preference. But people know because they receive it. And so because they receive it, they then bless me back often, although it's never with that intention. And I want to say that very clearly. That is why for this recent challenge, I said no goodies. And many of you didn't listen, including the amazing Fox who made me this beautiful stick pin. But I said no. And still people blessed me. Like unbelievable. Just unbelievable. Why people get so much Happy Mail is often because they've invested in the community. And so people want to bless them back when they can. Sometimes that's by making them an ATC. Sometimes it's by sewing on cards for them. Sometimes it's by making rosettes for them because maybe some of us aren't so good at making the regular kind. People bless you back with all different kinds of RAK because they see you care about the people in the community. So How you get into this sort of RAK happy meal swap groove is by first making a commitment yourself, by being there for the community. The second you start doing that, you're going to see that you become part of a bigger movement. And that's the best piece of advice I can give you. And it's the one Lily gave me. Now, what Carmen did for me was something precious. And it taught me a lesson about giving new people chances. It sure did. And I've never forgotten that lesson, Carmen, as you know. And so there have been times in the past and present where I have swapped with people who have never swapped before to do just what Carmen did for me. You know, you pay it forward, y'all. You pay it forward each and every lesson. So if you want to get into the whole swap, happy meal, RAK groove, you just start by investing. And, you know, I'm starting something new for my RAK. I've decided that I want to do something new. I have a group of friends that always bless me. Let me tell you, they're insane women. They constantly send me gifts in the mail. Sometimes I show them to you, sometimes I don't. That's what happens over time too. You build a friendship base. And those friends bless you when you least expect it. And often with things you will never buy for yourself because you're too chintzy. That's something special that happens over time as you develop the kind of relationship like Tami has with her crafting friend who visited her. That happens here too. But that's separate from being part of the regular swap RAK happy meal movement. I've decided to start something new. For my RAKs every month, I have names of people that have supported my channel and my challenges for the last 2 years. So I'm putting their names into a random selector, and I'm just going to pick out 3 every month, and whoever those 3 are going to get the RAKs. That's because I want to be fair about it, and I want to ensure that the RAKs go out to the general community. But each and every person has their own way of racking and looking after people in this community. Kathy contacted me today, and she said, Elisha, I got some masks coming your way. And Miss Sabrina, Crafty Mom and Son, she is something else, y'all. I'm telling you. She was like, I'll make the whole building masks. It would be a pleasure. And of course, she's the one who made us all masks in the first place. And our whole point was we didn't want them as gifts. We wanted to buy them from the people that made them for us so that we could help them. We thought we would help them profit. That was our idea, y'all, was we would buy them from Sabrina and from people like Green Tea Design Co. and Deborah's Chillin' Bag so that they could earn some money to buy craft supplies. Not that more people would gift them to us. Our whole point was we wanted to give back. So you see, that's how you get involved in this community. You have to give first. You have to invest first. And it's never with the intention of getting back. Because I can tell you all, you can rack somebody 10 times and it doesn't mean you'll ever get a package from them. You have to rack with an open heart, a giving heart that just wants to bless somebody. And I gotta tell you, those blessings end up circulating all over like little butterflies. I know, because I've watched it happen over and over again. But if you give purely, only with the intention of making someone happy, I promise you, it'll change the outcome of your life here on YouTube. I promise you that. But it takes time, and mostly because people have been hurt. So they're a little more cautious. They want to wait to get to know you better. As Lily said, you got to make friends first. And once you start making friends, the trust meter goes up. And she was right. But again, I had an angel in Carmen because she really started my whole thing. And she didn't have to do that. She just did it because she's special people. And there are many of those in this community. And once you get to know them, you never forget them. And that is the end of today's Getting in Your Happy Meal RAK and Swap Groove. I hope whatever you're doing today, I hope it's something crafty and fun. I really do. I know I'm having fun. I'm in a terrible flare-up today, guys, but I'm still crafting, and that means it is a happy day. I'm wishing the same thing for you. All right, y'all. Happy Saturday.